Probably drag it up a little bit, Pommy, because I'm a little taller than you. All right. So I uploaded everything onto my iPad just so I can stay in order. Because I just feel like it's easier to remember everything if you kind of block it out. So, hand stripping. In general, it's a style of grooming that entails removing dead hair by pulling it out. You can pull it out with a stone, you can pull it out with a knife, your fingers, but just that's hand stripping. Hand stripping and carding are similar. Carding is more of a form of just removing undercoat. You can card most breeds. It's the same thing as raking as well. But you will find that like breeds like sporting breeds, they're carded and raked more than they are stripped. They can be stripped, but they're raked more than anything. Where your terrier breeds and your wire coated breeds mainly are carded just to remove undercoat, which acts a little differently than it does in soft coated breeds. So in wire coated breeds, your undercoat actually chokes out your guard hairs. So you see this a lot in Cairn Terriers. They'll come in and they have a lot of that soft stuff and only a little tiny bit of wire. A lot of people are like, why? Well, because you have to go in with, any stripping tool. It's usually like a detail knife that you want because you want something that's really going to have good grip. And you would remove 50% of that undercoat layer. You could remove 100%, but most pet clients don't like that. So you do 50% the one session, so 1 month, do the other 50% the other month, and then the third month you're going to see a lot of harsh hair come in. So that is raking and carding. So I see I didn't miss anything on that. Rakes, like other stripping knives, they come in 3 sizes. So that's coarse, medium, and fine. It is good to use all 3 sizes if you have them available and if your dog has a lot of undercoat that needs to be removed. Let's see. Mars Coat Kings. I like to mention this just because I feel like it's important. It is a really sharp tool. So like you can get away with using them on pets, but depending on the show dog, you really don't want to use it. And I say depending because are a few like really natural breeds that you can get away with it that aren't as complex basically. They like more of a rugged look. So you're just going for a little bit of undercoat removal. But with breeds that have complex patterns, it tends to cut a lot of the hair. So it doesn't give you a lot of ability to pick your length when you go in to strip it. And then you also see like kind of like when you like go on and just straight thinning shear something, you see a lot of hard lines. And the hair usually will actually start to poke out instead of lay flat. So next, we have section stripping. So section stripping can be done on any breed, but it is usually reserved for specific breeds. So that's like mini schnauzers, Brussels Griffon, giant schnauzers, even standards, they do them. It's a big schnauzer thing, and that's because a lot of the schnauzer breeders feel that when you roll a schnauzer's coat, the color comes in inconsistently. It's kind of preference. So that's kind of a big reason with that. But also, section stripping or stripping bald or naked is really good when you're trying to push through puppy coat. So that really fluffy undercoat, you can go through and strip it all out. And, it takes about a month and a half, 2 months to come into, a little bit shorter than this. And then you can work it from there. But section stripping can be done a few different ways. Some people do a whole jacket. Other people do like the shoulders. They'll leave this diamond piece. And then a week or two later, they'll go through and do like the jacket and the area of their thighs blend and so on and so forth. And the way they usually do it cycles so that by the time they're done, everything is able to grow in together. So then rolling a coat. Rolling a coat, I believe, is the ultimate goal of hand stripping. It creates a flat coat that has a lot of layers. And this is really important because this is where we get that weather resistant coat, where rain just kind of rolls off it. It's because you have so many layers that are protecting your skin, that it creates this barrier. So it's really good if you can acquire it. Now, rolling a coat can be done a few different ways, and it all goes on frequency. So a lot of show dogs, their coat is rolled up to 3 or 4 times a week. Like it depends on the person, but they can be rolled every other day if you wanted to. And it's literally just taking out the longest hairs and going through. And I will show you closer, but that's just the premise of it. If you were going to start a rolling coat, a lot of people don't know how to start a rolling coat. Because the problem is you'll get a dog that's blown, you pull the hair out, and then when the hair's coming in, it's all the same length, right? So you ask, how do I create layers? This is where you have to be able to identify different areas of your dog. So you are going to want to take 50% of the hair out of whatever area you're trying to make a layer in. So, the dog would come in 1 layer, say it was the back, you take 50% out. So you're going through and you're literally thinning it out. Even with a knife real quick, it would just be like taking top part off. You're not being invasive. You're just moving fluidly and just taking just the little top stuff off. Pulled a lot, but I didn't actually pull a lot of hair off, just the movement, right? And then you would keep doing that, and you would do it every few days. And funny enough, that actually made the top of her jacket really flat. And that's because she's in a rolled coat and she just hasn't had it in a week or two. But when you're pulling, you do want to remember to pull with the grain of the hair unless you want to change the way or the direction that hair is growing. You can do that if need be, but a lot of the times you don't. It's the same thing with brushing your dog. You want to brush your dog in the direction you want that hair to lay and or grow. And the more you brush your dog's jacket or furnishings into the position you want it to go, it will stay there more. Like it will become accustomed to staying there, and it will want to lay there naturally. So there's that. So we did bi-weekly. Let's see, we're doing pretty good. I kind of hit blown coats, but just to kind of go a little deeper on that, blown coats is when the coat has basically reached the ultimate length that it can be. So it's when you see like really, really hairy terriers and they have like, 4 or 5 inches of coat type thing. And then you look at it and there's literally no layers. You could see right down to the skin. So that's generally what we consider a blown coat. Now, with blown coats, you still can have undercoat. Like some dogs will lose their undercoat actually in between that process. So they'll just have those long guard hairs there. And other dogs will retain the undercoat in certain areas. So you just have to be able to kind of identify that. An undercoat is always lighter in color and fluffier, like to texture. So that's a easier way to kind of identify it. I'm going to talk about flat work. This breed doesn't technically have flat work. If I was going to categorize it, it would literally be like the tips of their ears, and the front of their neck. So it kind of goes right up into the ear and then comes down in front. That would be a Westie's flat work. And then if you wanted to get really technical, it could be your shoulders as well. On the butt, hi baby. On the butt of a Westie and many other breeds, the flat work the flat work consists of the area right in between the two cowlicks. And that goes underneath the thigh, coming up, and then your 2 points, right? And then right up in between the back of the tail. So you clean up the butthole, of course. Westies have a little skirt back here. So it is actually more having this area. I'm sorry, baby. It's having this area shaped. And what I'll do is actually work on shaping her a little more. I want to work on changing her pattern a little bit. She was with a student for like 4 months. And so she's a little off in her pattern, but nothing we can't fix. Let's see. So powders, I just want to add powders are good. They can be good when a dog is lacking texture. Um, what powders are best? I can't really say there's a best powder. It just kind of depends on how harsh you're looking to get the hair. R7 is an ear powder, but can be really helpful when you have a dog that has super, super fine coat that doesn't seem to want to come out. But you wouldn't want to use it on a dog that actually has texture. It actually makes the hair brittle when the hair is harsh, and it makes it susceptible to break. And then last on flat work, just that I'll touch for the moment, is that generally flat work on breeds that have it, so Welshes, Wyres, um, Schnauzers, Sealies, anything that has flat work, you would do it at the beginning of the week, right? So you'd usually flat work Monday is a big thing for terrier people. And then by the time you go to the show, Wednesday it's going to be a little tight. By the time you hit Friday, it's going to be perfect. Sunday also perfect. So a lot of people do their flat works Monday or Tuesday, but a lot of times Monday. Now we hit stripping soft coats. So I did hit this a little bit. It's a lot of raking. So like these knives, and I use these for a lot. This is a classic knife in medium. But this is also a really good carding tool or rake. And these are amazing for soft coated strip breeds like the Spaniels. So American Cockers, English Cockers, Setters, Brittany's. These are really good knives for that. And when you're carding, you make sure that your knife is flat. So your teeth aren't up and down, but your teeth aren't sticking up off. You want to make sure it's really flat against the coat and that you're taking a little bit of skin and you're creating tension. And then you just guide it down. So she has a little bit of undercoat. It's kind of thick. You got to put a little pressure behind your thumb and your index finger. Yeah. Or your pointer finger. And then you get this. And so this is your undercoat. And you can literally tell when you look at it, it's very fluffy. It's so soft. The thing about raking and rakes in general, the knives are made so that these fluffy hairs get tangled up where the guard hairs slide through. Why is that? Your undercoat is denser, it's thicker. The harsh hairs that are coarse, they're actually thinner, so they slide through the teeth easier. Granted, you'll find a little bit of harsh hair in every, undercoat pull, but not a lot. Not as much as you'd get off of like a regular stripping knife. So then we're gonna get into wet raking because I actually, the last few weeks, I've seen a few people say that you can do this on terriers. That's actually very wrong. You are not supposed to wet rake terriers at all. It screws up with the texture. Even in general, you're not supposed to over bathe terriers' jackets. So even to like sit there and wet rake a terrier's jacket is like murdering the coat. You're stripping the texture off it. You're also stripping the hair shaft itself. I mean, you're doing the coat so much damage. It's not that it's not irreversible, but you can feel it as soon as you get it out of the tub. And it will take over a week for that coat to kind of fill back in and for the follicles to not feel like they're just ridiculously soft. But wet raking is really good for your soft coated breeds like your Spaniels, your Setters, and we'll say sporting dogs because you can wet rake almost every sporting dog. Almost. Um, when you wet rake, you shampoo like normal. Then when you conditioner, so like you condition the coat, you start with a coarse knife, and then you go over your whole jacket, working the coat in the areas and the directions you want it to lay. And then you go through again with the medium and the fine knife over each area that you already hit. And when you rake, you want to make sure that you're following through. Let me see if I come over here. So that you're following through down to the areas that are your furnishings. Give me 1 sec. Oh, I had to fix ya. Got a little spammy call, of course. Nighttime spam calls, aren't they the best? But yeah, so wet raking, you just make sure that, in raking in general, when you're doing it, you make sure that you're flowing through, because these, like this area right here, this is considered a transition area. Why? Because every dog has a dip right in this area where their shoulder and their elbow meets. So you don't want to enhance that dip. You want that dip to kind of be blended in and kind of go away. You want it to be hidden. So to be able to do that, you do still have to leave enough hair so that indent blends in basically. So that's why when you rake down, you want to kind of fluidly go through. And same thing with your skirted braids. You're so wide. And you go down, hey baby. And I'm going to show you as well, but just as we're doing terminology, just so you can see. And you go down that way with your stifle and then around your butt. And then you just do back. All right. I'd like to note when you're carding, it is good to stay away from areas that you don't want dippy. So undercoat can help build your coat up. So if you have a dog that has a shitty top line, you can build that top line by leaving more undercoat in one area and then raking the heck out of the undercoat in another area to balance it out. Okay. Let's see. So we're moving on. Moving down. This is good. And then tools. So I get asked about tools a lot. It's really hard because each knife can be used for a variety of things, right? There are some tools like we call, rakes, but it doesn't mean that rakes can't be used to just hand strip, hand strip the jacket. Like I use this rake all the time to hand strip. It works really well and it gets the job done. I also use this coarse knife. This is just a regular jacket knife. And I find it's pretty much the same as the other one for me. Different knives do leave different results. So you will find, as well as like the amount of hand pressure you're using when you're doing it, that's why you do want to be able to have a dog to experiment with, so you can see, okay, if I'm going down this shoulder with this much pressure, how much hair is it taking out? Or what does it look like after? It is good to experiment with each knife to make sure you really like it before you just take it to do a whole dog or to use it in whatever section you'd like. Cheap tools. So there's a whole thing with whose tools are better. A lot of tools are similar. I'm not going to say they're the same, but they are similar. And a lot of the time what you're buying is the name on the tool. You do want to make sure that when you buy tools, they are what they should be and that they're quality checked. So your tools should be flat, the edges should not stick out. So if this is a classic knife as it is, I'll come a little closer. So like this knife, right? If it was cheap, the head, because this is a metal piece, the head would be up a little bit and there would be kind of a flat piece sticking out here, which would be sharp. And you see that sometimes in cheap made knives. So if you get something like that, yeah, you want to complain to the company. You want to let them know, hey, I'm not happy with this, take it back. But it can happen even to branded knives. Quality control can be iffy, kind of just depends. But the best thing to do when you have a really sharp knife is to just dull it out until you feel comfortable to use it. The whole thing with a sharp knife is it can be used to pull, but it also can be used in the same manner as a thinning shear. So as you get better and better, you will be able to maneuver the knife in that way. But when you're a beginner, it is very hard and it is very easy to just cut coat. All righty. And then I like to throw in tool recommendations. Ashley Craig is okay. The retro stripper is pretty much the closest thing to a Pearson you can get. And Pearson knives were really good. They are a little sharp, dull them out. You can we'll talk about dulling in a minute. The Mars line, so not exactly, I think they make the Mars cocaine, but just Mars in general. They make rakes and different knives. They are very good. They're old. I'm pretty sure they're German made. You have Arturo, they're really good. Um, Again, I think their knives honestly are really sharp. Like this one I got at Intergerm, and because I left my tools on accident. Anyway, so I had to do demos there, and so I had to buy this, and I used it most of the weekend sharp. It was okay, but it was killing my thumb. It was literally ripping it up. And by the last day, I actually split my thumb in half because of that's how sharp it is. And that's just how much pressure my thumb puts as I press down. So my fiance, who is an amazing sharpener, he sat and he dulled it out for me. So it is no longer that sharp. And now it is like the perfect knife, and I love it. But I will say, if you're going to get that brand, dull the heck out of it. Arneco is really good. Chris Christensen had some really good knives. Larson, if you could get them, I know that those are like a little bit harder to get. And I think that's because the guy stopped making as many. And then you have Andis, which has like they have rakes, and I've heard some of those are good. I don't really use like the Mars Coke King type rakes, but I take reviews in and try to, recommend things that are good for pet groomers too. So I hear that one's a really good one. And if you can get your hands on Pearson knives, they're awesome. You will usually see old breeders and handlers. That's kind of where you get them, is if they no longer need them. So they pass them on a lot of the time. Okay, so let's see. I think we did good with the terminology part. And then I do want to hit on your questions real quick, Sarah. Here, baby, slide up. Just before I start, because I think those are really good too. So I just want to check, make sure everything's doing good. Awesome. Okay. So, and I talked about this first one a little bit with you before. And the question was, other than being consistent, what is the best way to desensitize a puppy to stripping? See, consistency is pretty much the only answer, but it's how are you consistent? Well, in which ways are you consistent? Well, I put my puppy on the table every day at 10 a.m., right? It doesn't have to be 10 a.m., but that's the consistency. And I rake it. And no matter whether my puppy's flailing around or biting or screaming, I still make sure to rake this area and then say, oh my God, good puppy, puppy can go down. And I do this a few times a day until puppy is okay with this process. And that's with everything. That's with feet touching. That's with, pulling areas they don't like. It's with the butt as well. If you have to do the butt 3 or 4 times just to work on desensitizing them, that's okay. You don't even have to pull a lot of hair out when you do it, but it's just the fact that you're back there and you're tweedling around. Because sometimes, dogs just don't like that. Each dog's a little different. So you got to figure it out. I've had dogs that just didn't like their tails pulled and would lose their mind for it. And I would work on getting them really good with it. And some of them eventually got better and others just never liked it. So, dogs are like people, and some of them may not ever love what you're doing to them, but they should be comfortable. And they should be tolerant of what you're doing. So the tolerance part does come from just repetition, in whatever you're doing, whether it's brushing areas, hand stripping, raking, it's just making sure you're doing it with enough consistency that your dog can almost guess what's coming next. It's like kids, you get them on to doing something. And after like a week or a week and a half of doing it, they expect it. They don't have to think, oh, what's next? I know this is what's coming next, so it helps them. Then we got, so I think I hit, what does it mean when a coat is blown? literally just means that it's fully grown out to the longest point in which it can grow. Then we got, what is the difference between the extra fine carding knife and the diamond strippers? So there's a lot. Let me see if I can find a diamond stripper. I got them. I got them kicking around. Give me one sec. Let's see. I was just looking at it. Okay, this isn't a diamond one, but this is the, it's like the, oh, here it is. All right. Kind of old, a little grouty. But this is like what they considered, let me see. One second. Let me spray it with water. I think it's a coarse one. The black ones were coarse and the silver ones were fine. But after you use them a bunch, you know, you can't tell because the grit gets powder in it. Yeah, so that's, yeah, that's black. So this was a coarse diamond stripper knife. And then let's see, where's one of the fine ones? This is a fine one. I just got this. This is a really good Zolita knife. It's fine. So what is the difference? Well, with a stone stripper, anything, because these are close to the diamond strippers, you can't really choose size with this, so, or length. So when you're pulling with a diamond stripper, even if you're not pulling the tips, right? It's easy to pull the tips with these. It comes out really easy. But even if you're not, so say, push in a little bit. Oh, it's okay. So even if you go halfway up the hair shaft, right? So I'm halfway. And I'm pulling down. Now I do it one more time for a good one. Okay. You're still only getting all of the hair that you put your finger on, right? You're not getting any variant in length. You're just pulling it out straight. Right? So then with the fine knife, or any knife in general, when you're using it, you can, with putting the right amount of pressure, you can still get different lengths. So when you grab, right, and say it's halfway up the shaft, half of your hairs are fully pulled and another half of them are like thinned out. It's the easiest way to put it. And that's with any knife. Let's see. Hey, hey. Let's see. So, and then, so I feel like the biggest difference is that it's easier to make holes with diamond strippers of anything than it is to do with a knife. Even though knife's more hand control, if you can be steady, you can get a really even result. Where I feel like it is harder to get an even result with diamond strippers, even though that's what we recommend to beginners. It's more so that you're just not chopping up the dog's skin itself. It's very hard to cut a dog with these. You know, you can burn them if you are basically using it too fast and it rubs up against the skin. You can kind of burn it, but you can't actually, like, you know, cut them. So they are really good for that. A lot of people, these are really good for flat work if you really wanted to, because flat work can be all one length and tends to pull out really easy when you're using it, pulling by the tips. So let's see, what was one of your next questions? And in there was, what do I recommend? It really depends on the breed. If you had like a Welsh, or yeah, you have a Lakeland. That's what you have. So I would recommend, if you were new, just sticking with the diamond stripper until you have a little bit better hand control, and then trying to gradually switch over to a fine knife and seeing the difference and working on your hand control, kind of going from there, because it is a gradual process in the first place. And then let's see. We did hit, what is the purpose of balding? Which, you know, there's a lot of reasons that you would bald a dog. The biggest one I see people doing is to push through coat change. You don't want all that undercoat. You don't want all that fluffy crap. So you're just going to pull it all out, make it naked, wait for the harsh hairs to come in. And when the undercoat does push through, you got to pull it out really quick. So it's out of there. You don't even have to think about it. Okay. And then let's see. So you got, I know you should strip weekly for rolling a coat, but are there pets you don't strip weekly? Or are there parts you don't strip weekly? And if so, how much time in between those parts? So that's the beauty of having your own dog. You do have to be able to time out the growth. So each dog is a little bit different. So like this dog, she can take almost a month to get like noticeable growth. Because it likes to lay really flat and it will kind of buckle in areas before it actually just pushes up. A lot of times, you have your flat work's done every week, jackets on like show dogs every 3 days. So like just this part, your shoulders are done once a week with your flat work. Your thighs, I guess, would be like your area. A lot of people don't hit like every week. Some people do their thighs and their flat, or no, I digress. Their thighs and their furnishings like every 2 weeks. And that's because these are heavy blending areas. So you don't really want them to be super, super tight. You want them to have gradual transition. And same thing with the tail. Some, people don't always strip them every week. They usually will let them get a little bushy and then shape out the desired shape because each one's a little different. Like she has a thin tail, so I stripped the heck out of it to try to get some of her color out because she, for whatever reason, has always had like a little dark spot on her tail, just the line. But as it's coming in this area on her tail grows slow for whatever reason. I've been leaving this end part because it's supposed to be a carrot, it's Westy, and it's gradually transitioning thinner. And as she grows more hair, I'll actually leave more hair on this tip part just to make it appear thicker than it is. Because she does. She has a little bit of a thin tail. So you're a wreck, baby girl. Alrighty. So, and then the last one. Quiet love. How does spaying or neutering affect the coat? So that's a good one. It depends. Quiet, spice, knock it off. So it depends on the. I digress. 1 minute. Spicy, my dear. You see, no, you bark at him all the time. You don't need to. You little bean. Stop. Okay. Sorry about that. But yeah, so it does affect the coat a little bit. And all it really does is it's the hormones. So you tend to get a lot of undercoat. Once you work that out and the hormones do balance back out, it does tend to like die down, go away. You don't see as much undercoat poking through, but it is really hard to get rid of that first few months after it's done because the hormones are gradually leaving your dog's body. And as that happens, it can do wonky things. And so it can either give you too much undercoat or it can give you a lack of undercoat. It can also, rare. Hey, spicy, relax. It can also, which I was going to say a little rarer, but it can give dogs or bitches, whoever, kind of like balding spots for a month or two. And again, that's hormonal. So it just kind of depends. So we always say, the small dogs, you want to wait till they're like just about a year to get them neutered or spayed. And then the bigger dogs are longer than that. And I think different breeds have kind of like a different length until when you're supposed to get them neutered. I'm not honestly the best on, when to have your dog neutered. I have show dogs. I pretty much have them altered once we place them. And then the ones I've kept, I haven't because I just didn't need to. So there's that. But I think we can just jump in to stripping this little beauty, right? All right. So we're gonna start with raking her. I'm gonna fix the camera so I can get you a little closer and you can see a little bit better. Miss Palm. Let's see. Sorry. Don't mind me, guys. Gotta slide around for a sec. All right. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by raking her coat. One sec. Trying to have it get me back so I can zoom out for you guys. Oh, yeah, maybe. I swear they make this stuff like so complicated. Oh, there we go. Okay. Palm. I appreciate you dealing with me, my dear girl. So, pull this back a little bit. All right. So, I'm just going to brush her hair up a little bit just so you can see. So, she does have a lot of extra length on her. And I normally wouldn't even brush it up, but just so you can kind of see what she's got. It's about 2 weeks. All right. And her coat does lay really nice and flat, even being long. And that's just because I do tend to roll her pretty frequently. I roll the top part like, yeah, pretty much every 2 weeks, which is not as frequently as other show people, but I don't show this dog all the time. So, yeah. So what I'd like to do is start up by the neck with a rake. So this is a very common rake. It's the classic knife. It's in medium. And then I just start up here, baby. And my thumb is putting a little bit of tension. You do want to start whatever session you're doing by raking. And this is just taking out your excess undercoat. Right. All right. And you see how I just kind of keep it moving till it falls off. And you can see these. So this is undercoat. You can see it's fluffy. It's really light in texture. No, you can't eat your undercoat, sweetie. I just make sure to keep putting tension. Pretty much any area that I want to take off a decent amount, I make sure to rake just so that that area isn't going to be flopping up on me at any point. Good girl. And same thing. So it's usually thicker back here by the butt. So you start in the area that you already raked and you just keep going. I like to wrap the knife in and around towards the butt and back. Because for Westies, you do want them to have a bit of angulation in the back. So like this one, she's a little straight. So I like to kind of bring it in so that it looks a little bit more exaggerated than it is. And then I build the hawk underneath it. So it's like one. So then it's built up. Then I shape the rest of it so it looks a lot cleaner. But so you can see, and then, right. You just want to make sure you just keep breaking. And then, good rule of thumb is when you're not getting a bunch of undercoat out, you can move on from an area. I don't sit in an area too long, but I do make sure to keep going over them just to make sure that there's nothing left in that area. And then I personally don't rake her shoulder part a lot because I like to have a little bit built up right there. And that's because for me, I believe this bitch has a short neck, right? And so if you want to elongate that in general, right? And what I did you take out more hair up to the occiput so that you can elongate it out. That's why you want to make sure that the undercoat as well in that area isn't super bulky, so it's not making that hair push out. Good girl. Same thing. So you want your knife nice and flat. You can do it slowly or you can do it fast. It's not, you know, a rush. You just want to make sure that you're not overly scraping the skin at all, because you see that a lot in people that are just learning. So it's not up and down, it's flat. You want it to kind of like comb through. You see all that? And I'm going to run over to our other side real quick, because you want to try to be even in everything you do. So what you do on one side, you do want to do the other. So raking for me, I feel it's a really big one, where if you're just, you know, setting a pattern into one side, you can do one whole side and then go and set the pattern into the other side, as long as you have a really good idea of where you put the other one. I see a lot of people have problems with symmetry. It is super helpful if you have a mirror. I don't have one down here anymore, or I do, it's in the corner, but I took it off of the wall, so I no longer actually work with a mirror most times, but I will just go back and forth checking it, or I'll take pictures, and that's a really good way to be able to see your work. The best thing you can do ever as a dog groomer is to take a step back when you look at your work, because you can't see anything when you're just like up on top of it. So I just want to take this out. And then I'm going also over her croup very thoroughly, because I personally think she's a little roachy back here, right? A little bit. Yeah, she's a little bit roachy back here. So you're just going to keep going at it in the area that you know has the most undercoat. I know. Such a good girl. All right. I'll move back over to that side. Good girl. So then, I like to kind of stay in a routine. So I usually will now take like a fine knife and then move you in, drop you down. Let's see. Perfect. So I'll start up here behind the ear. Let's see. Up here behind here. And then I'm taking my fine knife and I'm pulling all the excess hairs. So a lot of people, I don't know why, I don't know who's teaching people this, but a lot of people will literally like like brush it up like that and then just go in and strip it, and it's just like, please don't do that. Do not do that. That is like you cannot tell where your hair wants to lay. Okay, that's it's craziness. You want to make sure that you're brushing your hair where you want it to lay, right? And also when you're doing shoulder, top line, anything like that, you want to make sure your dog's head is up, right? So you can see the structure of it. You want to make sure they're standing, right? And yeah, you got your fine knife. So I work the front here into this area by Will, which is like the Westies flatwork. So we were talking about that before, and it comes up, and it's kind of what holds the head up when you do a show head. So you just kind of work this part forward, and then all dogs have cowlicks, or most have cowlicks right here. So when you're doing hand strip dogs, Welshes, anything, you want to make sure that you're pulling that hair in the direction it's growing. So you see where my hand's kind of turned and I'm literally pulling up. That's because that's literally the way her hair is growing. So that's the way it needs to come out so that it stays smooth and fluid. And then even when you're brushing it, you try to help the hair lay where it wants to. And then you just keep stripping the long parts until it all lays flat. All right. And then you keep moving. You don't need to stay in one area too long. That's how you make holes that you don't want, right? And holes are okay. Holes are okay when you mean to make them, right? If you make holes in a coat that's all one layer, that's fine because it's going to create a rolled coat within a week or two, right? Because you have a bunch of different layers now cycling that weren't there before. But you don't just want holes for no reason. Takes away from the integrity of your pattern, you know? But you can't be afraid to make holes. It's life. We all make holes, you know? I'm going to switch over to this plastic knife when I do this median part here. So I just used fine on this area down here. And then I'm just using the medium knife to do this inner change or this area on the side of the shoulder. Good girl. And it's common for dogs that are not used to hand stripping to pull and to kind of act just out of character. You know, a lot of dogs that aren't used to it will pull away, they'll bite, sometimes they'll yell at you, they'll scream, you know. And the best thing to do is just work them through it because as soon as you stop, that dog is learning that, hey, if I throw a fit, I get everything I want. You don't want that. But you also don't want to, mentally fuck up the puppy. So you want to be able to show them that you care in the moment, but that they're not going to control the situation. So that's why you keep going, you keep praising them, you say, good puppy, good, whatever your puppy's name is. And then you can do treats in between, but I don't really recommend treating too much. And that's just because you build a dependency so that when you don't have a treat and you're grooming that dog's going to act way different. So if you just work on praise with the dog, a lot of the time you build a relationship so good with them that you don't need anything extra to reward them. You just, talking to them and praising them is enough. So we keep working this down. Sometimes I'll pinch up if I see some thick areas and I'm like, okay, we got to thin this out. When I think about thinning out wire hair, I pinch up and I pull it to the side. I'll find some way to, make some tension on the skin. And so I look, I'm like, oh, this is good hair, but there's some really long ones going back here. So I'll get my knife in there and pull a little bit at a time in the direction I want it to go. And you can sit right now, good girl. Same thing, and you gotta make sure you move up. You're shaping out your dog's structure. So even though she just sat real quick, which is fine, what I'm looking at is her shoulder placement. So this is this area, right? Or even like right behind there. She's kind of, yeah. And then that's your rib cage. That's your jacket. You got your neck and your blending area, thigh, whatever. You just want to make sure that as you're working through each area, that you're really paying attention to the areas that need to blend. You don't want to have a super, super, super short area that goes into a long area without a transition area. You're always going to need a transition area. So your shoulders are short, they go into furnishings. This area, like where is it? So like right here and here, that's technically considered your transition area. So you don't want that to be short. You want that to have length to it. You want it to be a little bit longer. And it's like half, which I'm going to take some length off that, but still, you want it to have a little bit of length. And that's so that you can have that nice transition area. Same thing. You want to get right back behind the shoulder. Depends on your dog structure. If you have a dog that has a bunch of folds right in here, which happens when a dog has a super tight knit shoulder, it happens sometimes. You don't obviously want to pull that super short. You actually want to build that up. How much do you want to build that up? A lot of people ask. Well, you want to build it up so that the folds are not visible. So it is actually usually a half an inch to an inch of extra hair in this area if the dog has folds. If the dog has a really clean shoulder, you can take it down relatively shorter. You still want a little bit of hair transition, but you can take down relatively shorter to be able to what the heck is the word? To be able to basically make the neck stand out. That's the easiest way. I had the word in my head and I just like lost it. So whatever. All right, Miss Mom, come into me, my dear. He's like, do I have to? Good girl. And then same thing. So I just did this. I just did this top part, did that, did that. Now we're gonna see this area, which is a transition into the skirt, but it's too long. It's gotta go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look, see what the different lengths are at. So you can see these are all really, really long. These are kind of short because I was pulling on them a little bit when I was doing this. So you want to even these out a bit. And because this is good right here and this is long, I'm actually going to start on this long patch over here. All right. You're right over there, baby. Good girl. All right, so then what I do is top down first. And I just take out the long hairs that come with my finger. And when I come in underneath here, my thumb is hitting whatever's longest pulls. All right, longest pulls. And that's just first. Stand up, baby. Good girl. Good girl. It's a good girl. Hey, baby. Good girl. And it's good to talk to the dogs. You don't have to overtreat them, but talking to them is enough. And then you see, now if I go through, I lift these up. So these under here are now a lot more even. These up here, oops, sorry, right up here, these are the long hairs that we apparently didn't hit yet. And that's what happens when you pull underneath. You're getting the longest hairs that stuck out in this area. So we're going to do it one more time, a little bit higher, which is right here. You see, no, not my hairs. The same thing, I come underneath, my thumb's hitting these long hairs, the ultra long ones, and I just pull and keep going. My finger feels the long ones, it just hits on it. And I'm just grazing. I'm grazing over the jacket, taking the longest ones. All right. Very good. And then you can see that this area could come down more. And so I'm going in, and again, just grazing my knife over, and my thumb is taking the longest hairs that lay on top of it as my knife glides over that. So that was all from that one area. Don't eat your hair, silly. Sorry, guys, she's a little special. She's my girl. And then, so she was out with a student, so her pattern, I feel like, needs to change a little bit. This needs to come out. Basically, we need to drop it down a little bit. And then, so like, and I think you could probably see it. So you have this and this. So this was where her skirt was basically when she came back from the student, which was fine. But when I got her ready for one of the shows that was after, I did like a rough strip on her. So that's why a good amount of these were relatively even. But to fix the pattern, these do need to come out. These are too much. Well, this is, a dense patch of hair. How would you do that? Well, I'd start to pick at it. I'd pinch it up and look at it. It's okay. Do I have any layers in here? Well, I do. Okay, great. If you didn't, you would pick a length that you want on it. So even if it was the length that was to match this, right? So you'd pick it, that would be right where the hair is actually super dense. I don't even know if you can see that, but right where the hair gets super dense. And I'd put my knife, and actually use one of my sharper ones for that, because you're going to be pulling 50 and you'd thin out 50. So you'd put it right there and you'd let it drag down the hair just lightly, because whenever it's thick hair, it can be more uncomfortable. So you don't want to be like ripping really hard. That's where it's, hand control is really important when hand stripping dogs. It does matter. And you just keep picking at it. Pull up. Good girl. Go down, and then you brush it where you want it to lay. Good girl. She's like, I want to crab walk away from you, lady. I see a little tail. You have a little bit of tail for me? See. And you do. You want to make sure you're checking your top line as you go. You want it to be as smooth as possible. Pull you out a little bit just so you can see that. Spicy. Knock it off. Mommy. And you can see, so like when you work on a dog, you want their head to be up level so that the shoulder is fluid. The more they put their head down, the hair right here on their shoulder buckles out. So you don't want that, and you don't want to be pulling on hair that's not laying in the right place. All right, so we continue on. Miss P. All right, so same thing. So since that had to come down, now we need to reshape the thigh area in these furnishings, because I don't know what's going on. So let's get these fixed up. And if anybody has questions in between while we're going, feel free to unmute yourself, ask some questions. Just let me know.
Ashley?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm sorry I'm late. I was picking up a Westie surrender, so
Oh,
sorry I'm
no
late.
problem.
Um, okay, question. You're using the classic knife, but you're using it for I guess carding, but you also were using it for stripping.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can. And a lot of people think each knife only has one use, and it really doesn't. You can use a lot of the knives in a variety of different ways. It's just really, what is it doing for you, and how does it best affect your dog, you know so the classics are actually really great for people who have like big fingers, and can't actually grip like these little knives, right? And so it just really depends. It's a learning curve. Each tool really has one. But once you get a good feeling of them, you really can do anything with each one of them. It just kind of goes down to speed too. So like your rakes, so like this is technically a rake. This is a really old rake. I was just playing with this actually. I don't even know who it's made. I got it from one of probably Dawn or Jane. But it's the same thing. It's a rake. And what you notice on the rakes compared to regular stripping knives, even these are regular stripping knives, is that rakes are way longer. Regular stripping knives only have a small amount of teeth on them. And a lot of people say that's just so the rakes can get more out while they're being used. But that also serves the same purpose when you're just using them as hand stripping tools. You can get more out because there's more surface that you can use. And you can change the area that you're stripping on. So you can be at the tip with something like this, but you can also be at the middle or the back if you really needed to. So I find myself kind of actually right before the tip and kind of on this middle level, and it tends to work really good for me. But
Now,
it's kind of similar as like that.
now I just found, believe it or not, I just found two classic knives in the package. I probably bought them 20 years ago.
Oh, that's awesome. What a good find.
Package. I had them in a drawer here. How do I dull them?
Okay, so dulling, this is great. So we were talking about this a little bit before,
I'm
and
sorry.
no, it's perfect. So like dulling knives, it's kind of funny. You would do anything you wouldn't do with a good pair of scissors to dull these, right?
Mhm.
So you would cut cardboard with this. You could cut, if you get gray pumice stone, you can use these to cut it. You can run it on rock, like you could get a rock from outside and literally sit there. I personally, I was telling the story, I had to get this knife at Intergroom this last year, and it was basically because we got back from Crufts and we had to go to Intergroom really quick, and I forgot my grooming tools. And I had to do demos all day. So I picked up this knife. Well, this knife is it's good, but it's very sharp. And throughout the week, I found that it was cutting my knife or my thumb. And by the end of the week on I think it was like Friday or Saturday, I split my thumb in half actually because the amount of pressure I put on my thumb when I'm hand stripping is immense. A lot of my pressure, like a lot of my strength doesn't come from my shoulder, it comes from my thumb, my hand. Um, so I actually had my fiance, who's a really amazing sharpener. He sat and he actually dulled it for me so that this is really nice and dull. I don't have to worry about it at all. Um, but if you get sandpaper or something like that, that is also very similar, and you can use that to dull them. I don't
Now,
like using
what
quick
what about
stop.
quick? Yeah, a lot of people talk about quick stop, and I just
Yeah, yeah. So like
I don't know.
I'm not the biggest fan on it. My biggest thing is depending on the knife, it will make it rust, and it
Right.
also like gets in the teeth. So like I had read somebody was saying like put it in a bag of quick stop and like rub it around, then leave it there, and then take it out and clean it. And it's just like so I tested it. I did that to a few knives, and the teeth that are really small, it like calcifies or something, like gets like right into it, and it's very hard to get that out after. Um, so for me, I think it's more of a pain than it's worth, considering there's so many ways you can dull it without going that route. But it is a way. And it does work. It just takes a little bit longer. And I feel like it does take more of a toll on your knife.
Okay. And how do you know that it's dull enough?
Well, so the whole aspect of dulling knives is because you don't want to cut the coat, and you basically haven't learned hand control yet. So it's up to you. You can have it so that it has a little bit of an edge to it, or you could have it so that when you look at it, so like let me see, one of these is not this one. Yeah, this guy's pretty sharp. I just got this. It's a Zolita knife. Let me see if I can get it to. Will you do the thing? Oh, there we go. So you can see these are sharp little beans. Sharp little beans. Um, so it's very pointy at the edge. Very pointy. You can feel it. You can see it. And when you dull it, that edge does come off. It becomes way duller, and it's basically just working the knife up higher into the divot. So, and that's like these ones aren't. I don't know if you can see it, but these ones have way flatter
Yep. Uh-huh.
than these, and these come to like a straight point at the end.
Oh,
And it
okay.
is it is literally preference. Some people want a little bit of a sharp knife, other people want a really dull knife. I have like in betweens. So like I feel like this one's super dull, and this one's in between, and then this one's super dull, and this one's I'm pretty sure this one's like the old one. No, this one's not actually. So I have one of these that is like super old. It's so old it says West Germany on it. I swear to, it's crazy. But I had two of those and I accidentally broke one because of course I use them. Like I'm not gonna just let it sit. I'm gonna continue just to take some off.
So
This
why do you use that particular, like, the classic, like doing this rather than, you know, one of the other tools?
right now because it's just easier. Like my hands are really swollen right now. I got back at like 1:30 a.m. to my house in Delaware, and every month I take a route basically up and down the 95. So I start in like New York City, and I hand strip dogs there. I hand strip dogs New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, and then I work my way down from that area down like Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and then I do all of Florida too. So like I work every day. My hands get really, really swollen. So like for me right now, this knife is just super comfortable. Even though actually this is the knife that I use like 98% of the time. This one has just been really comfortable for me for the last like 2 or 3 days because my hands have been just like really sore. So it really is just preference. And like I was saying before, these are really good for people that not just have swollen hands like me, but just have big hands, or like my mom will say she says she has nubby fingers, and this knife was really good for her because her fingers pretty much fit right directly where they needed to. Where on one of these small ones, or even this one, her fingers were really big and they seemed to get in the way, is what she said. So it definitely is preference. I have every knife you could think of, even Pearson's, and it just kind of depends. I switch all the time. Like my hands have like really thick callus, and depending on the knife kind of depends on where it rubs. So I change knives all the time just so I don't get more callus basically. um because each one rubs on my hand different, so you know but I don't actually believe there is any like best tool. It's just learning to use each tool and then figuring out you know what one you really like or what few, because you can get away with doing a whole dog with like 3 knives or even two if you really wanted to, but you have to be able to use those knives in various different ways. So we're going to keep working this area right here. So we took this out. I want to take this out too. This was attached basically. So we even this down. Also, I'm going to take this and I'm going to start to take that after taking a little bit more off this. Right. So what I'm doing is just letting the longest hairs come. Hi, baby. I'm not digging in because we're building her layers and she already has some layers. So the deeper you dig in with your knife, the more layers you're going to pick up. And a lot of the time you want to work with the top 2 layers. You don't really want to dig down deeper if you have those. And if not, you want to create those and then work on those. I believe rolling a coat is the best way to hand strip. Um, it keeps the dogs happy and it's really good for the skin because even if you're not washing them all the time, you're removing, the excess hair that wants to clog up the pores. Because, remember, hand stripped dogs, it's in their DNA. Their hair wants to release, their hair wants to let go. And when it doesn't, it backs up that follicle. And sometimes it's ingrown hairs. Sometimes it can just create like blackheads after that hair maybe breaks and the top of the follicle is still left into it. So that's why we say, raking and carding is such a big thing too, because that also helps get that out little bits. Good girl. And I'm looking. So like this is a bunch of layers. So this is like her longest layers, right? About down here, this is longest. And then let me see what I can do. All right, so these right here, these to the side here, these are her second longest, right? And then what can I do? I can see it. I don't know if I can pull it out for you. It's like right here. So that's another thing. You have to learn to see layers because I can't personally teach you that, but you have to be able to sit with your own dog or with other people's dogs and decide which layer is what. So this is her third layer. And so that's medium or like short medium right here. Let's see if I can flip it up for you. You can see it's medium. And then she has, let's see, those short ones we were just pulling, which are these guys. These guys, super short. So when you have layers, it's fun because you can really dictate how even your groom's going to be. It's like this, anything with your furnishings, super gradual. So whether it's usually shorter up here, or even short up here, gradual here, long down there. So you just want to make sure when you're doing that, you're following through completely. So you start up here, taking some long ones, and then you keep moving down. I know, baby. Same thing, got a little bit of bulk. I'm gonna push you in. Good girl. And I'm gonna move you guys over a little bit so you can have right there. All right. And same thing. So this was that bulky hair sticking out, causing a fuss. All right. And then, so that's a lot better and laying a lot flatter. So now we're gonna start attacking this. This is too much. And the thing is, this bitch, she's wide and she's a little, yeah, that's what I mean when I mean she's wide in her rear. So she likes to kick out into the back. And I consider her straight as well. So when I do her butt, I try to shape it up here, like right in this area, and then take this in behind so I can build that hawk area. But to do that, you also need to take this a little shorter. This right here a little shorter as well, and this, so that you get a better visual of it. So that's what we're gonna do. So I like to hold this thigh hair so that I know I'm not pulling it. Same thing from the back. Right, and then I hold her thigh itself. Same thing, I work top down. I'm just taking the longest one. I'm also pushing forward because I know that's the direction I want her furnishings to be facing. I want them forward. I want them going down the stifle. All right. I know you like to throw your butt out. Make life a little harder, baby. And same thing. Come on this side, and I'm wrapping in and around, going towards the back. They got little skirts back here. Hides their lady and their man parts, right? So you just want to Tommy, you can't hide your little butt. Mm-mm. And then same thing. So I just took that off, and then I'm like, this could come off a little bit more. You don't want to take off too much because again, sensitive. But also the covers the sanitary area. But also specifically with this bitch, she's wide, so it covers that wideness in the back, especially when she's walking. She doesn't waddle or anything like that, but it helps deflect from that. It's the same thing. I'm gonna come right behind here. Let me see. And you, yeah, that's good. Keep moving. Look, same thing. I'm coming down right in here. And just gentle, because you know you got lady parts in here. I'm not trying to grab any of these hairs. If you're really nervous about grabbing hairs, you can put your finger to block and to just put it right there. And then you brush this hair that's over the top and inconveniencing life, and you're just gonna pull it out. That's why it's important to read standards and to be really aware of that end process. So what should the dog look like in the end? Because depending on the dog's structure, you have to do a lot of sculpting. So then that even lays better. Look at that. And you see that even from the side is a lot better now. It's a lot cleaner. Comes through. Good job, baby. Awesome sauce. Does anybody have any questions so far while I clean off some of this hair? Alrighty. All right, good with me. So we'll keep going. So normally with furnishings of any kind, what you want to do after you blend this area, after you blend your little, sorry, baby, your little transition spot right here, you're going to start working your furnishings. Okay. So when you do this, of course, you want to open the hair, right? When you say open the hair, what does that mean? Well, you just want it to be separated. All right, so let me move her. All right. Take your nice pin brush, and you start from the bottom of your foot. I do circular motions. That's kind of just show dog stuff. They teach you that it's like the best way to open the hair. So circular motions. And then you make sure you brush your skirt down. You see that? You see how much better that skirt looks now that we've taken all that hair off of it. And even so, like I would take a little bit more off of this area that seems to be like really sticking out. But the thing with hand stripping is if I left it and then did it in another week, it would look so much better. But if I pull it right now, it might be a little too tight, and you don't really want hard lines on Westies. You want it to be blended and look really natural. So I'm gonna leave it. Let me see. Let me see foot. Good girl. You see that? She's really good for it nowadays. But she literally was like a gremlin. Little gremlin child. All right. So put down. So you have to get in your head what shape you want. Most terriers have a column shape to their legs. And the only really variant to this was more old school shape, and this was called the teardrop. And so the front of the leg was rounded, right, like a column, but into the back of the leg, it pinched off, right? And so it looks straight on each side, but it is a lot more hair in the front than it is in the back. It's more of a visual thing. So you just figure out which leg shape you want. We're sticking with pillars since we're doing beginners. Make sure it's nice and combed out. And then you look from each side. Let's see what we can look from each side. Perfect. And then with furnishings, I do like a sharper knife. Usually, she's got really harsh hair, so it doesn't really matter. But it's good to use a sharper knife because if you cut a little bit and you pull most of it, that's fine as long as you go over it every, however, whenever you're grooming the dog, and you still pull out a majority of the hair. And then same thing with pets. You can thinning shear all you want on legs of pets. It's you know, not a huge thing. You just make sure, you know, the best thing is to strip over it after you, you know, thinning sheared it to the shape you want. Just strip over it. And so for me, I'm taking out these really long hairs that are taking away from the shape of the column. So like this is technically skirt, but it is in the elbow area. So when you take your hand and you feel it up, this is elbow. So this can go. This is going to give you a little bit cleaner look. In most terriers, elbows down, elbows in, short elbows is what you hear. So when you're stripping the elbows, that's mainly this part up here. You don't want like water wings. So that's why we strip it relatively short. And you give it another brush. And you look at it and you're like, yeah, look at this, all this crap. You just got to pull this out. And she's a foot licker, so her feet could be whiter. But, you know. I'm telling them your secrets. That's what I'm doing. All right. And then take your comb. And remember, as you're doing that, you're still combing and brushing, so you have an idea of what this is looking like when you brush it down. Just putting her up a little bit more just because she's dragging her head down. Just more like she wants to see what's going on, but she's also changing the way she's standing and kind of like scrunching forward. So you want them to be standing very parallel when you're doing your legs. So then up here, which is your blending area, it's okay to have hair that is on the long side, but you want to make sure that it's laying flat. So I take the thinning, or not thinning, I take the slicker, and first I just brush it down so I can see. That's pretty flat. I could leave it, but I want to show you. So this is the area that all dogs naturally have an indent. This is kind of where you stop with the shortness, and that's super long, right? You want to keep it long. So you don't want to ever pull all the way down into this indent. Even when you do mini schnauzers and stuff like that, you still want to make sure pull all that tight, and then you stop before that so that you can have a gradual line. So when I do this area, I make sure that the hairs that I'm grabbing are not all from the same area. So I make sure to spread it out. You want it all to be gradual looking, and to do that, it does have to be slightly haphazard, which is a little bit hard, you know, to wrap your head around at first, but the more you do it, the more you'll learn it. And it's the same thing with blending. A blend won't look great if it's all very patterned out, like, what's the best way to put it? So it won't look good if it's all like straight lines. Like a blend is everything gradually fitting into each other, but it's not all straight lines like one to the other. That's it. Okay, so I'm just taking, I like to think of this as like half. So from the length this is at, I'm taking half off. And taking over here. Same thing from this front part. Come down. And then most terriers have relatively tight feet. Cat feet on some, just tight on others. These ones are just tight. I wouldn't consider them cat-like, like an Irish. But you just sit and you strip right around the foot. Usually right till you see the tip of the nail is a good tell. And again, super long hair into short hair. So gradual, 45-degree angle, rolling off of the foot, and making sure when you get up around that nail to grab the hair so that you get that clean foot look. And you can thinning shear this, you know, this little bottom part a lot of the time is thinning sheared. That is fine. But you do lose texture in that area if you don't pull it after you thinning shear it. So like for me, I thinning shear sometimes. But like for me, I will strip everything first, and then if I want to thinning shear anything, I'll do that after because I know it's not going to mess up the coat. I already stripped it. Good girl. And then same thing. I'm gonna grab that knife. Good girl. Same thing with this front ear. You want to take this tighter. And it always rolls over into the shoulder over here. So it's kind of like this comes down, but this comes over in it. And I'm using a detail knife on this because it's taking the smallest amount of hair out. Same thing in here. You want to make sure that it's not too bulky. It's not too much hair. I like to lift one leg. Just give them a little more balance on that other leg that you're stripping. Some dogs like it, others don't. It's kind of, you know, like wires. Wires don't like their feet touched a lot. But Westies don't seem to mind very much. And same thing, so you keep just working the hair over, and then this hair down. You can see, and then another cowlick most dogs have, this one right in front of the chest. So same thing, if this hair is coming up and over, you're going to pull it the same way. And then you grab the longest hairs and you try your hardest to follow the grain of the hair. Same thing with this hair right on the inside of that front leg. You can take a little bit of that off. And then it's just like, I was gonna say, when you do pets, and so like dogs will come monthly, you won't have the best roll, but you can still, get one. So it just takes a little extra time. And you have to be like exactly at a month. They cannot go over a month, or it will go a little bit longer, and it will make it harder to get it back into that roll. Let me see. Push you back. So you can see the front of that foot too. Let me see. So you can see that it's clean around the toes. And then the hair is all layered, but it lays like one piece. Then even so, you would wash your furnishings again, and then you'd blow dry them all into the same direction, and then that would also help with like a really, really good finish. So that while I'm up here, I'm just gonna take some of this neck hair off real quick. Since we're here. This is one of those areas on pets. A lot of people will thinning shear. You can. I mean, it's better to pull it, but if you feel like a dog really won't tolerate it and you're not showing it, yeah, I mean, you can get away with it. It's just, it won't look as good in the end process. But some pet people, like, they don't care, you know. And same thing, pulling down, and then from the areas that are starting to go like out, I just start pulling towards that direction. Stop. What a good girl. You just keep brushing. And a lot of time I'll just kind of stick a nose in there just so that I have something to rest on so I can don't move. Nah. So all of this has to be pulled up on a Westie. And any dog that has a cowlick, you're gonna wind up having to pull it up with the grain of the cowlick. So just keep that in mind. And it's always best to just work your flat work slow. And doing it like, well, every week keeps it a really good length. Like even so, this is like 2 weeks out for her, so it's a little on the long side. So yucky. Need another bath. The same thing. I'm just taking out this really hairy stuff and working with that flat work area just to get it as flat as possible. Stop. No, no. And a lot of people have problems getting this area like, short, and it's you just got to work from each side. And you just keep working it and working it and brushing it and working it. Good job, buddy. And then you knock it off, little queen. You can see how hairy one side is to the other side. So one is nice. It's going one direction. You can literally see how this hair is going this direction. Pulling down, this is the little V. And this is the other side that wants to. And that will be pulled out coming this way. And same thing up here. Because it all wants to be tight. Come on, baby. And when you get to these little hairs, you can switch over to your detail knife. And then you kind of just go over it one more time. It's going to give you a really, really tight look. Just want to make sure you're not grabbing skin too hard. If you do grab it, it's hand control. You let go real quick. I see you. You want your head back, sweetie? She's like, yes, please. All right, stand up. I'm like eating your hair, baby girl. All right, we're good. So, there you go. Sorry, I got this new camera, or it's not a new camera, but I got a new phone holder, and it's not like the best, but it works a lot better than our last one. All right. So we have gone through a lot of different stuff. What I'm gonna do is trim up her back hocks, finish that back area, the back flat work tail. We'll go over a little bit of Westy head. And I say a little bit just because Westy head is like super complicated and doesn't really fit into beginner's class well. Um, but I will explain a little bit about it and then just go over regular maintenance process and we'll go through, see if you guys have any extra questions. If you do, I try to be thorough with, how I explain stuff. But like right now, I'm just going around the bottoms of the feet and I'm just going to take off any excess hair. This is just in general. You can pull it all off, but once you get to, once you get as much out as you personally feel you can, or however much your dog will let you, you can go around just those little edges and just neaten them up. Can I get you a stand, baby? Good girl. So we're gonna trim those. We're gonna trim the rest of this. Maybe a little bit of a skirt trim. And this. Which is this? You see, this is part of leg. This can be brought down. So if you're gonna do it, you kind of look at what your other length is, and then you go right where that other length is. And you pull it once. You already got a bunch of hairs that length. Pull it twice, 3 times, and you got it the length you want it. Battle and the camera stand. You gotta get on the other end or the other side. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna take off this little bit of hair right here, just because she hates that pulled. You can see how much more shape they have now. Stand, baby. So I'm just gonna come right behind the bottom of that foot hair. And it's more like 45-degree angle. It's not straight up and down. I just want to take these little bits off in those strays. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off this hair right here, give her some better hawks. And probably wrap this around a little bit better and blend this down a little better. Then same thing, after I pull like the feet, I'm gonna just scissor around the little tiny bits of the toes, and I might hit the back of the hawk a little bit, and that's just to give it better shape after it's stripped. If you consistently strip it, you will get it to that, it's just that shape. But a lot of the times it is hard to just get that shape by just pulling it without a little help from the thinning shear to help pretty much create a little bit better density in it. Because basically a lot of the time furnishings do tend to be one length. So when something's one length, it's hard to create the layers in it. Not impossible, but hard. So what we're going to do, I'm going to turn this palm again. Hopefully she doesn't fight me on this. So can you see? There we go. Okay. So lots of hair on this. So you slicker it first, all of it up, just so you can have an idea of it. So foot, just slicker it real quick. Want the hair separated. We'll make sure the hair, sorry, right in here as well as separated too. Right, and then once it's all separated, you do want to brush this part down real quick so that you can get that right in front of the toe pull. All right, if you choose to pull, so this is how you do it. So these are really long hairs. When they're really long like that, you're gonna go and you're gonna strip the front of the foot first, and you're gonna take a little bit off with thinning shear and then strip the rest. That's just so you don't have to pull all of this long stuff, which can be uncomfortable. I do here. And I'm just going off the edge of the toe like I did before. And I kind of find the nail. And then I follow that around. So sometimes it's easier to get to the other side of the foot by turning the foot slightly, because you don't want to, of course, put too much pressure turning feet, but turn it slightly, and then you pull the inside of the foot. This does help cut back on some of the hairs back here. All right, so one more time. Give her a slicker brush up so you can kind of see your toes. Nice toes. Awesome. Take your pin brush, do the same thing. Madam. Good girl. All right, so now you can see you created a good front foot. Awesome. Now you gotta create this back part. This up here. You can do it two ways. You can take your knife. You have it all brushed out straight. And we'll say we want to take off that much. Right? That's where you're going to start, and you're going to pull, say 50% of it out. Just starting at that halfway point. You can control the length you get when you're stripping. You just have to work on your hand control. Same thing. Pull in. Good girl. Come in again. Tommy, knock it off. And then because I would like a little bit stronger of an angle on her, I'm gonna take a finishing shear and then make sure it's combed up. I can see all the length. All right. All right. Move you this way so you can see the length too. Stop moving, Pommy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this little bit. Ain't nobody likes stripped anyway, so we're going to just take it off. Just that little foot part. Oh, stop. Stop. And then what you want to do is just look at it and same thing. You do want it to be even with hawks. It is great if they are parallel. So like her length is mainly out here. I feel her foot's standing here. That's toe. This is technically hawk. I want to build a little bit of fake hawk because she could have better hawks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take thinning shear. I'm going to come straight down here. So that's after I already stripped, taking this extra stuff off. And coming a little bit at an angle. We just pulled those toes short anyways. Right. And then what I do is take my little handy dandy knife here. And I'm going to pull around the foot a little bit too. So I just created a nice straight line. Great straight line. And then I'll come over on top, just pull a little bit of this down because it's too much. It's too full. Same thing. Adam, the more you move, the more you make me gotta move you or the camera, sweetie. And you see how that's just a built foot now? Or built, stifle, hawk, rear end. And it changed significantly from before. So like now you see the rear, it looks way better. You got angles for days and straight too, because you want them to be straight. You don't want to just create angles that don't fit the dog. So that's why even with her, this is where the end of her butt is. This would be the top of her hawk. It comes out a little bit, like a half an inch, and then down. So any dog you do that you're building, which is considered corrective grooming, but it is important to learn that as a beginner, because corrective grooming is so important. You probably use it on every dog you groom, just because no dog's perfect. So what I'm going to do real quick is just pull some of this, because some of these I probably cut at some point, just to be honest. So like these ones up here like to flip out heavily, right? So what you do, just lightly taking out some of the longest that are inconveniencing our pattern. So anything that's throwing itself up, that's not just staying down. Even if it's kind of swaying out, I don't really want it, so we're gonna just pull it. Madam. You stand still, silly. So things with little bits. When you do like furnishings, head stuff like that, you don't want to be pulling massive chunks out of the dogs. You want to be pulling little bits. That's why it's like our hands move quick. It's not, our hands move quick because we're pulling really little bits of hair at a time. Just moving this down a little bit. And same thing, following down and up. And you start to see like even these ones, they're not really sticking as much out, except these bad boys in here. And I say, I don't like that, so I'm taking it down. Oh, stop. That's where you draw the line. skirt stripping. Crazy little thing. And then, so we gave her relatively good pattern. We fixed her pattern up. Can you feet down? Pop this slightly up. And you can see, let me throw something. You see how you can see those lines a lot better? Okay. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to work a little bit more on her butt and her tail. But before I do that, I'm going to take a little bit more off her top line. It looks okay. But if you stare at it long enough, like me, you're going to realize that that is a little bit higher than that. Now, if you're a show person like me, this shit drives me crazy. So, what I'm going to do, since I already raked this, I already pulled a little bit out of this and evened it out to what I feel like is proportionate for the moment. Now I'm going to go right back here and I'm actually going to take out more right in front of this tail area. Right here. I'm going to stare at her again for a few seconds, just make sure. Yeah, that's the, okay. We're going to pull that real quick. Honey, stay still. Okay. I should be able to do it from this side. So like these hairs, these are long, these are making kind of a bump in her top line. So I'm just grazing my knife along the top of the coat. I'm putting a little bit more pressure than I'd recommend you do at first, and that's just because I know exactly how many layers are under here. It's like 5 or 6. So I can kind of keep going until I see my second layer. Good girl. And just level her out for you. You see that? So it went down a little bit. I'm gonna pull a little bit more here, a little bit more right there. I think that will be a really good top line to leave her with. I gotta do the rest of the side at some point tomorrow, anyways. So I'm gonna just a little bit more here, a little bit more there, and I'm barely holding on to her at the moment because she is standing really well, and her skin is pretty tall already in this area. So spicy. I don't know. And I am taking off of like this side and this side just so when I'm looking at it, I'm not just like seeing the hair that I didn't get to pull out yet on this side sticking out. Because sometimes that happens. All right, let's see. Very nice. Maybe a tiny bit here. All right, let's see that. And you can see the layers in it. You can see the layer. Isn't that crazy? You can see. So this is like the longest layer that I'm pulling mainly, right? And then you can see these shorter layers in here. And those are the ones that week after week will be pulled, right? So I'm just pulling these bad boys, majorly. Mommy. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide her over a little bit just so I can get a better angle for her tail and butt. Because the biggest thing is she likes to turn her head into me no matter what I do all the time. So, yeah. Right? That's what you do. Okay. So, let me see your butt. All right. Give me 1 second just to adjust everything. Perfect. Okay. So, butt cheeks. So you can see this side is not, let me just try to get it as level on. So you can see the work we did on one side to the other, right? Because we already pulled this down. I didn't really do this because I do take a little thinning shear. It's the lady part, right? So I don't really want to pull all that. But I did clear in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull this in here. And this is the same as a flat work on, Welsh wire Lakeland. This part right here, these two cowlicks, this is short and it borders the butthole on each side right here. And then it goes up pretty much to like here. You can have it really naked if you wanted to, or one layer does suffice. So just get it nice. And then I'm just gonna trim her butthole real quick, which I just do with scissors. So I like to just brush the hairs in the direction it should go. So that if I need to take off anything extra, I can. So it goes still with the grain of the hair. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So grab our knives back. Honestly, fine knives are great on flat work as well. Cowlick, cowlick, pull with the grain of the hair. Same as your front flat work. So circular, circular. However it's going, you do want to make sure the hairs are coming out that way. Same thing right here. Most lady dogs, right above their lady part, up in right in front of the butthole. This is just straight. It usually goes. Hey, knock it off. Look at me. Knock it off. Don't be bad. Little brat. So yeah, this area right above the private usually goes straight up, and then as it merges out, like so it gets to this line, then it starts to twist around the cowlick. And same thing over here, starts to twist around your cowlicks. So I like to start on the outside edge and just get a little bit of hair pulled there. Now, she always likes to put all of her pressure on me when I strip her butt. I will change positions, like holding positions a few times, but sometimes the best way to like be able to see and hold them is by just holding their tail lightly and then letting them put the pressure on you. Most terriers do have thick enough tails that they can support their body weight and it's not going to hurt them. So you can get away with that as long as you can tell your dog does not mind it. Some dogs really just don't like it. I'm gonna switch over this because she's not happy about her butt cheeks being pulled. It's the same thing. I'm coming up, try not to pull her little private hairs. And I'm right now using the tip of this round knife. And that's just because even though I usually use the fine knife, it didn't really want to come out. That happens. So you just kind of switch to a different. Now you balance out. And you just make sure you keep brushing. And then you can start to see. So I just took that. Great. Awesome. Now, I want to work some of this out. This is really thick. How am I going to do that? I'm going to pull this stuff out that direction. So I'm going to turn my hand. I flip my wrist is the best way. It's not actually flicking your wrist. Flicking your wrist is bad. but flipping your wrist. So you literally turn it like that so that you're at an angle, and then make sure you're pulling straight down with the direction of the hair. And same thing, you can start to see it getting thinner. That's great. Then I'm going to take a thinning shear real quick, and I'm just going to hit this really quick, and that's her lady part hair, because you don't want to get stuck hitting that too much. That's not good. Same thing with ball hair. You can take 30, whatever you're comfortable with, and just shave that, and then you shave it pretty much up into here, and then you strip the rest. So what I do, just make sure her stuff's not hanging out or anything like that. She's kind of round butt, so her stuff's actually underneath her. Pinch this, make sure I'm not going to get anything. Come up real close to where her lady part is. And then you just bring that down. And then you can continue stripping, and you're not going to catch as much lady part hair or ball hair, because it's not a pleasant experience for them if you catch those really sensitive parts. And then so you can see this cowlick right here, it's thinning out really nice. And I'm just going to keep working the edge of it now. I just worked the inside, I just worked the top. Now I'm going to work this round edge. And when I work this round edge, I am kind of trying to keep that circle shape as I pull. And I do have a hold on her tail, but she is balancing a good portion of it. She's just, dancing around. Good girl. Same thing, start on the edge. Good girl. And then same thing right here. You're turning, baby girl. You don't want to do that. This right here can go. Good girl. Chin. Stop. And you can see it's a lot flatter. I'm just going to continue to take this off, and I'm going to start to take a little bit of this off. And a lot of people thinning shear this. You can. It's not going to kill your groom if you don't. I just kind of strip it out of her. I strip it out of most of them, honestly. So for me, it's like the less I can switch tools, the better, really. So there are some times that I'll do a whole dog with one knife. Mommy, they can't see when you push your butt into me like that, baby girl. So you can see the big difference from the one pulled side to the unpulled side. And then pull in so you can really see it too. So you have your calyx pulled really nice and tight one side and still hairy on the other. Push her up. And then, flat work is really hard for a lot of people, and I get questions like, how do you train dogs to stand still for it? I guess, as you can see, like a lot of dogs don't stand like 100% still, but it's gradual, and the more you do it and the more they know what to expect from you, the better and better they get. So you can see that one side is very nice now. And then we have our tail, our palm tail. This thing, I swear, I'm just getting good hair on this tail. I feel like a while back I honestly shaved it, and I don't even remember why. I think she got burrs in it or something. Like I had her really grown out, and something happened and I shaved it. So it does have a decent amount of soft hair at the tip, but all this right now is wire because I've been stripping it. Trying to get more hair for whoever's going to use her for like Hershey. So tails can be sensitive. You want to try to give same discretion you would give with flat work when you're doing tails, especially the back side of them. If you're doing pets, you can thinning shear the backside or you can clipper it with like a 7. That's fine. Same thing with your flat work. It just will change color. It will change texture. You know, most pet people do not care. But in the same sense, it is something that, you know, at least if you know, you can tell them and say, hey, you know, if I do this to, you know, this part of your dog, it's gonna go soft. And they can make that decision of whether, you know, or you could just tell them, hey, I don't, you know, do this area and this will just, you know, go light, which, you know, just happens. So what I'm doing, because she doesn't have a lot of hair, and I'm just working all of the hair that I don't like out, which is all that gross colored hair, all of the soft hair, all of the undercoat type hair, all of that. I'm just trying to gradually remove it. I don't want it super short. I don't want it naked. I just want a gradual removal. So what I do is I'm just taking the longest stuff out, and more so I will keep this thin at the moment and work on building this. That's just visually so she can have a carrot tail. Um, but I would personally like to just keep stripping this short so I can get it as harsh as possible. But you know, a good girl. So I'll take that real quick. A little bit off the side so you can keep that full look. And even so, her tail's relatively thin right now, but still carrot shaped. Full here, thin here, until I can get more wire hair to build this into a nicer shape. Spicy, spicy. Hey, knock it off. Bye. That's my evil little Welsh. Don't mind her. I would have used her today, but I shouldn't have as much hair because I've been doing good stripping my own dogs and keeping up on it. Sometimes it's, you know, harder than other times, but I think I'm gonna enter them in Orlando, so I'm trying to keep them groomed, but you know, ungroomed enough to use them for seminars and stuff. But groomed enough that I can make them look like a show dog in under a week, you know. Same thing. So just gradual. I find any long hairs that stick out or that I don't like, and even so, like she's got, what do you got here? Oh, so she has a chew spot. That might be why her tail is. Really, I just washed you this morning. You have a chewy spot. Thing, so just go underneath. Let me move this, and she keeps tap dancing, which is fine. When she was a puppy, she was kind of a pain in the butt to groom. She's gotten really good. Oh, don't fall. Don't go nowhere. Even so, I have a very light hold on her tail. Like she could pull her tail out of my grip at any point in time.
Hey Ashley, you said that
Yeah.
she had a two spot on her tail, and it reminded me, do you usually have issues with stud tail on hamster dogs?
Yeah, actually it does happen. And that was her biggest thing. She had stud tail. So that's why I pulled her tail down because she had it like right here and you can still see a little bit of it. But I was able
How
to
do you
get
get
it.
rid of that?
Yeah, I don't even know how I did. I don't know how I did. I stripped the hell out of it. I took every hair out of it and then I sat and I had to pop all of the because she had a bunch of really full follicles. It was so gross. um but I've just been on top of it to maintain it, and I also have been keeping the area like as clean as possible. So I actually take a little Dawn and I scrub it and then rinse it because it's like really greasy. Yeah, this is the first bitch I've actually ever had it in, so it was surprising to me too because she's a granddaughter to one of my older bitches, so I wasn't actually expecting that because I never had that with any of the other ones.
Yeah, both of my female poodles have it, and I obviously I just got my puppy on Monday, so we haven't gotten that far yet,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I didn't know if with the stripping if that kind of helped keep it from happening.
I mean, it does relative. I mean, the whole thing with hand stripping is it helps clears the hair follicle, the pores itself, from getting clogged. And then you just keep an eye if you see any clogged like follicles that you clean them out, and then you also kind of like sterilize them so that they can't get anything else in them, so that the follicle one shrinks, but also so that it doesn't get an infection. Because I don't know about yours, but she was getting like really deep follicle infections where it would get like really gross.
Okay.
So, you know, here, one sec.
I have not been successful in getting my poodles to not have it. And I've
Yeah.
got one that just she's not greasy at all ever, but just doesn't grow there anymore.
Oh my God. That is
Yeah.
literally the worst. She was like that. She was literally like that for like a year and a half. And that's why like this base of her tail is so thin. But I've been stripping it crazy because that was another reason I did shave it. I mean, I do shave, a good amount of my hand strip dogs if I don't have time for it or whatever. And then if I need to, I just restrip them because, I don't do it that frequently. So a lot of the time the hair still comes in wiry. And I just have to, repair a little bit of it if that. Stacy. Good job. And then I take the thinning shear. You have just a little bit of excess hair. We already pulled this. We made a good base. Just gonna take this off right here. Wish you could. Oh, there you go. So you see that? We're just gonna take that off. Right behind it. And that's any bird. You really don't want a lot of hair just kicking around right in that base part. Over there. It's very gradual. So we're gonna pull that out. Gonna turn you around, baby bean. Get in there. Awesome. Look like Westy again. Not a little ragamuffin. Not a rag Westy. So move some stuff around. So I'm gonna do also. So I'm gonna turn her now, and we're gonna work on the head, and we'll do that for like the last 20-30 minutes. So I'm just gonna go over and make sure I didn't really miss anything. And again, if you have any questions while I'm just going through this little section or anything you can think of, feel free to pipe in and ask. It's good. I personally, like, I'm gonna thinning shear just so you can see, but I personally would do a little bit more under here. You can strip it, you can thinning shear it. It's better to strip it first and then thinning shear over it, but just for visual sake. So you see that, that's better. You want relatively sharp lines, but a natural look is generally most terriers. Same thing with like Lakelands, Welsh, Irish. The coat's nice and fluid. Shoulder. All right. Now, I got to turn you, little bean. You're going to go back to the front where you like to be. Ah. Just give me 1 sec. I had a big old dog last month, and they totally tore apart this table. And so now I have to get a new one at some point. But like, it's kind of on the last of my shit to do list. So this table's aged, and you can tell. Okay. This palm. Let's pull you out. All right. So I'm gonna take a slick brush. I'm gonna brush this little rat's nest out. All right. She's not mad at her or anything, but I let my Westie's hairs, well, most of them, the heads, I let them get knotted because that's just relatively how they stand naturally without any product. So to just get that out so that you can get a good trim on it, I usually start back here. She always gets heavy tear staining. And what I do, like, every few months, honestly, is like I'll sit and I pull this all out. And then I need to just cut this again. I just haven't gotten to it. So, because some Westies do tear more than others. It's common. You know, some do have allergies, others do not. So I'm just separating the hair. Same thing behind the ear, just separating it. Madam. I like to push it back just so I can see basically what I'm doing. What I want to take off. So what I'm going to do real quick is just tip her ears. Push this other stuff down because I'm going to shape it anyways. I'm going to do a little bit of shape. Westie heads, again, they aren't really basic, so I'm not going to go deep into it, but give you a general idea. So I'm just going to give it a good tip. 1, 2. Honestly, I don't I don't like tipping Westie ears. I personally, it's not really my favorite thing in the world to do. Just even for show dogs, like I have finished over 13 Westies that I did not personally tip their ears before I showed them. I just did. I have a Westie that I finished that doesn't even have tips of ears because his mama bit him off when he was a baby, and I still finished him. So it's not really that dire if you're not a huge tipper like me. But if you want to be a stickler and stay to the pattern, you will make sure you tip them. So I'm going to come in here, get a nice V going. Same thing over here. Spicy. Here, it's nice. And then just even that out if by any chance the first time you go with it is not even. There you go, 2 pointy ears. Awesome. So, what I'm gonna do, I'm throwing a little bit of powder in her head. It's a little bit of the Christensen whitening powder, and then honestly a little bit of foot powder too, because the Gold Bond foot powder is really good for taking away yellowing and any little bit of bacteria that can be there. So I'm just really easy on it. I don't actually just like pour it into the head. I just rub it in, and then I just try to avoid the eyes because you know don't want to get that in the eyes. It just gives a little bit better texture. I'm gonna grab my pin brush, like so. Like so. See, so pretty. We're gonna open this head up. She has pretty good length, honestly. I had to trim this like 2 weeks ago, somewhere around there, so it's not really super overgrown, but I'm gonna take a little bit off for you guys. So the whole thing about Westie heads is you should fully do it up if you're going to trim it, because it's a whole process. You have to tease it. But before you even tease it, you have to put cholesterol in it. Then you have to put a little powder in it. Then you have to tease it. Then you put a little hairspray on it. Now you don't have to, but these are all things to make your life easier. Little hairspray, tease again, take a pin brush, open it up like we just did, and then take a knife and you can pull around it, and then a thinning shear to finish it out. And if you're really anal retentive, you can do a curve right around these edges and it does it nicely. But if you're doing a quick head, just to kind of get an idea of your dog in front of you, or if you just, want to do it quick, you can do what I just did. You put a little powder in the head. She had cholesterol put in her head earlier, so she's still a little sticky from that. And then we opened her head. I'm looking for my one comb, don't mind me. You can take a teasing comb or a regular comb. Teasing combs are obviously better. But you can make it work with whatever you got on hand. I was looking for my teasing comb, but apparently she got legs and she walked away. So, but when you are teasing a head with anything, you want to start from the bottom and go up. You can start at the back and go forward and then bottom to top from there, and you connect it. But you want to make sure you do it one or the other ways, and that's just so you have a good foundation, because the whole idea is so that it lasts for a while. So like when you show it, when you're doing pictures, whatever, you want that to stay. And even when you trim it, you want it to stay, because next time you put it back, it will be able to form the same shape again. Unlike breeds like poodles and, other like just sheared breeds that the trim's done once and then the dog shakes and then it looks like shit. Excuse my French, but so it's just like terriers are a little different on that aspect. You can trim it and, make it look like a shape, and that shape will stay there for a while, weeks even, if you do it correctly. So start from underneath. All right, just kind of comb this out, make sure she's good. Of course, she is still slightly knotted, which I'm not super worried about since I'm showing you how to do her head, because that's pretty much the premise. So you're going to grab underneath some cheek, and then you're just going to push in. We're just doing a really easy tease. Teasing is apparently hard. I say apparently just because the last few people I taught had actually a really hard time learning how to tease, when in reality, you're just grabbing some hair and you're literally pushing it in to the base of the head. You grab a chunk of hair and you just push it into the base. When you have a teasing comb, yes, it makes life a little bit easier, but relatively, it's all the same shit. The same thing over here. And I'm just teasing her cheeks up because those go up and into the head. If you wanted to, you could do this piece right here. When you tease the head, they look crazy. Most of the time, when you get a good tease on them, they look like a Brillo pad, honestly. That's how you know you did a really good job. This will be slightly subpar because I can't find my one comb. Thinking about where it could be. So you start coming up here. And you're doing this also that you could just trim the damn head. I promise you. You have to still trim it. But to trim it, the best way to trim it is after you tease it. So when you do a braid like this. So it's kind of the biggest pain in the butt. So you're teasing, you're pushing the hair in towards the head. You're going to use a teasing comb because metal combs kind of suck. Unless you get one of those like even so this side, it's just too thick. Like the comb itself is too thick. But if you used a thin version of these on the thin side, it would work great for something like this. It's just this comb is not the best one. And I have not unpacked my car at all, or my truck, whatever. I haven't unpacked it, so a good majority of my grooming items are still stuck in there. And I gotta go to DC tomorrow, so I don't think I'm gonna take them out. All right, so you get a rough tease. You see the front, you see the top. Awesome. I'm just gonna throw a little spritz in her head. That was just literally like conditioner spritz. And that's just because the powder I put in her head is slightly drying. So, and also because I haven't put extra cholesterol in her head. So her head's not really going to want to stand that long, but it's going to stand long enough for me to show you what I mean. Yeah, you can see the shape already starting to form. And you keep pulling it out a little bit at a time. Look at me. Look at mommy. Good girl. Let's see so good girl. So then you're gonna go through and you can take a knife. I'm gonna take the knife I've been using most of this session, and I'm just gonna pull a little bit in front of her eyes. Go back a little bit. Sorry, sweetie. And go back. It's okay. This is pretty much where you wind up putting a lot of your pressure. Just getting a lot of these excess hairs out. Because you gotta use a decent amount of pressure on that. You just tease the hair anyway, so it's like stuck in there. And even when you have red spots, you do want to pull a little bit of these out as much as you can. So like with her, when I'm really trying to get her as white as possible, I will pull this, wherever she reds out, I'll pull it a bunch in a week. And then I'll keep doing it for like 2 or 3 weeks till it goes away. And I just don't, bald it. I do it very slowly so that, you don't have to deal with such a hard transition. Good girl. Same thing in the front of the eyes. Very sweet. And then, look at me. Good girl. Now I gotta do, look. You see, no, look at mommy. Now I gotta do that right there. And I do, so I just go in. I know the length I'm looking for. I'm looking for half of the length it already is. Well, what length is that? Well, it's the length that's right underneath that tip of ear that I did. Pull those up. Same thing. Go through. Mommy, mommy. I know. She said, oh, mother. Now, from here, you can pull some more, or you can take your handy dandy thinning shears. All right. Now you want to be looking dead on at your dog. Okay? Sorry to move you around. So dead on. And you want to basically use your ears as a guide. So from tip, hey, look at me. So from tip down in is where you're going to take a little bit off. Ready? Can you give me like not even 20 minutes, guy? And everybody gets to go outside and play. And just take a little bit off. A little bit. Same thing up here. You can take a little bit of cheeks off. Just a little. Now on top, you're trying to match what you already pulled. Can't pull it all. So if you pull it all, what's going to happen? You're going to have a hole. It's a Westie head. Look at me. Okay, getting there. And same thing to this side. Ear. Oh, sorry. Ear. And then come down a little bit. So you just little bit. All right, use that ear as a guide. Ear is a great guide. You know why? Because each dog has different ears. So, you're going to have a different head every time. Because if you're doing it the way you should, by how the ears are set, you should always have a really nice head. All right, so we took a little bit off this. We can take a little bit off this. Come in here. And actually, I think I took more off that side. This side anyway, so I'm going to shorten this up a little bit more than I planned to. A little bit at an angle. So remember, it's like a chrysanthemum or a spear. It's 3D. It's not 2D. So you don't just want a circle from a front, but you want it on every side to make the shape. Same thing. So work this up. Look at me. All right, so we're going to do a little bit more underneath here. Yeah, and you can see you don't want your underneath to not be as balanced as the top. Do come through and you feel it out underneath here, under the chin, just a little bit at a time, when you do Westie hits. You don't need to whack off, an insane amount, little bits makes a difference. Then, look done. Okay, not bad. Now I'm just going to take a curved shear, real quick, and those top areas, I was trying to get really even. Okay. I hold up, you see this? Right up here underneath the ear, so you get your ear up. Look at me. Good girl. So, come here. A little bit. Right? So, then you look at the top. You could take a little bit. This is why Westies are very technical. This isn't a beginner thing that I'm showing you, but this is something that's good to know. Because, the more you work on it, the better you'll get. And, there's lots of pet Westies. Guess what? You could do this with a pet Westie head. It's all about how you work the hair. Yeah. Let's see. There. behind here. Keep it nice ear shape. Oh, girl. Take a little bit from these sides here. Okay. Just a little bit. Look at me. Mommy. Good girl. What I do, hit her with a little spritz. All this spritz. Good girl. Me. Then you can see. So we were able to trim the Westie head without doing a full makeup on it. So there's no hairspray in this dog's hair. It is very, very lightly teased, like teased with the faith of freaking, of being able to get out red stains. Honestly, it's a very little faith is this head teased with. But you can see. And then I would just say, people forget behind the ears, even me right now. I didn't do it. You can take a knife, and you can come back here and just pull it like that. Or take your handy dandy thinner if you're doing pets and come right up behind here. But also like right behind the ear. You don't need hair in the what we call the collar line. So it's right behind the occiput and then just right where your collar lays normally. You don't need hair. Any questions about heads, Westies, beginner stripping, anything anybody missed that they
Yes, Ashley.
Yeah.
Can I flip the video on?
Yeah.
I want to show you something. Here's where, let's see, so that you can, let's see. Why is it not? There. Now, this is, you blew me away with what you just did to her head. I'm just blown away. Right. This is my male. Okay.
Yeah. Hi, buddy.
I'm like, I don't know where to start because it's like, I guess you don't strip the whole head.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and so like it's little bit. So with the stripping part, okay, for foreheads, it's all gradual. So you strip a little bit at a time out, and you don't have to do a whole head up. You're just pulling a little bit out at a time to get the texture in. Because you still want harsh hair on the head. Some people only have soft hair on the head because they only, shear it, which is okay, but it tends to be a little bit on the soft side and a little harder to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can, on his ears, then I can scissor the ears.
Oh, yeah. Or you can scissor them into little points. And then so it's just tipping them.
Yeah.
And then from the points of the ears, that really builds your head. And that's where you can have a line of where to create your shape from.
Now, would I do what you're doing? Because I mean, you can see he's getting pretty full to the point he needs.
Yeah.
He's almost can't see. So I should do what you did and then start pulling it from at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So no pulling it now. I mean, or can I be pulling it now?
I would pull a bit from the front and from the sides and slowly work it each month. Because literally each little bit that you pull, you're creating new layers underneath that, which will stand up once they come in. Those harsh hairs stand way better than the the curly undercoat type hairs, which tend to be what you get if you only scissor it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm blown away. I mean, I can't believe that she went from that to that.
That's why I like to use her. She's a cutie, and I swear. And she's my little mud gremlin, I swear. She's like always just out and dirty and, not being a show dog, but, she is a show dog. She just doesn't act like it.
Well, this one's not either, but he's just, everyone said to me, you should strip him because he has a beautiful coat. No staining at all. I don't know how, but my vet even saw him last week. He said, there's not a stained hair on this dog. He said, what are you doing?
That's awesome, though. That's really nice.
You know what I found that works? That I've done it with 3 of my Westies. I don't use anything but Pyrex glass clear bowls.
Oh, yeah.
For their water. and I only use, I believe it, or not, all these, I get the big bottles of their bottled water.
Yeah.
And I even tried the Brita and it still stained them.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
no,
I've heard that, and like what I used to do when I was a little bit more anal retentive with my Westies was they all had liquor bottles and they only drank like purified water.
yeah.
So that was another thing, and it did help a lot. Like, I travel a lot. I do a little bit of everything. So these ones do get to be dogs a little bit more than a regular show dog, I would say. But yeah, Westies can be hard to keep white. It just depends. I have my Polish male. He has a hell of a coat. It's like, you know, soft underneath, and the tips are super harsh. They're so harsh, they have a little bit of that tan color. And it drives me nuts because it's not like a normal coat. And you can't even pattern it the same. You have to do it differently.
Now, are you going to be in Springfield in November?
I am. No, I'm not actually. Not this year. I haven't went up to Springfield the last few years because they kept getting really bad storms, like, snowstorms.
Oh, not in November.
No, they have. They
Have they
definitely
really?
have. Oh yeah, I've been there for it. Unfortunately, but no, the last one I went, I was like 2 years ago, and yeah, it was really it was really cold, and I was like losing my mind on that. Um, but no, I have to do. There's a show up in Maryland for that same weekend.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm doing for that, and then I have to basically get down to Florida for the Orlando show. Um, because we're gonna do a few dogs there. I tried to cut back a little bit on how much I was showing, and some stuff. Somehow, I still have a decent amount to do.
Now, when are you up in New York?
So like once a month, literally once a month. It's usually like in the beginning of the month. Like I
And
have to
and
go
where,
down.
when you say in New York, whereabouts?
I travel all of Manhattan
Okay.
specifically. I go into Brooklyn sometimes, but it is mainly Manhattan, and it's all over. It's the whole circle of Manhattan. I have a bunch of dogs. And then I go into New Jersey City and Long Island
Now, how long are you in New York City for?
a day or two, however many dogs. Like I just go in for, the hand strip. So I will basically contact whoever wants me to strip their dogs monthly, right? And I'll be like, hey, I have these days available. What's good for you? And then I block them out times. So I usually will do like 2 or 3 days in the city at this point because I keep picking up more New York City dogs. So it's keeping me down there a little bit more, but I do it in alternate weeks, so I'm not down there for a few days at a time, basically.
Yeah, because as you know, Lisa and I have been trying to nail you down somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm on the coast of Connecticut, right near the Sound. New York's not that far, but I didn't know how far out of the city you'd go because I'm thinking, we could drive down to Stamford and hook up with you. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't
we
know how
could
you.
do that. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I am relatively flexible on that aspect. You just have to like let me know, or no, let me just kind of look at the schedule. I have where most months I'm up in this area in the beginning of the month, but December is gonna throw that off because that show is the beginning of the month in Florida. So basically, I'm I'm leaving up here right after that Maryland show, the 22nd ish. And then the December show is a week after that. And then so I will stay down in Florida until the week after the December show. So after that first week of December. And then I'll come back up here to do all of the Christmas dogs. So then I'll wind up back in the city around like the right before Christmas, like the week before Christmas, I would wind up there. So, until it goes back to normal because it just
Yeah,
depends. Some shows kind of throw off the schedule.
yeah,
And that's also why I tried to like slow down on the amount of shows I was doing because I have a really good travel route now, and I like it. So I try to make life easy and just build shows around it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I try. You know,
Yeah.
it's
No, this was very good because, I've done other ones of these and no one's ever this close, does it this close up where you can really, see what you're doing.
Oh, that's awesome. That was literally my goal. And like the thing is, I stopped doing Zooms because exactly that. I couldn't really show what I wanted to in each dog I was grooming because the phone itself was not good enough. I just upgraded my phone. We went out today, we got the stands. I threw up the backing to try to help with the white dog issue. I tried to get as many cameras as possible, or lights as possible to be able to shine right on her, to make her stand out and to make the hair stand out. So I really appreciate that because I tried
Well,
really
no,
hard.
because, this is probably my third or fourth one I've done with you. And
Yeah.
I mean, they all were excellent. I mean, by the way,
Oh, I
but,
appreciate
but
you.
this one really, I mean, I've never had any of them where it was that hands-on close.
Well, that's awesome. I love that. That makes me feel good. I try to be thorough
And
with
I'm very
everything I do.
disappointed there weren't more people on here. I mean, I wish I'd known, or I would have, told more, friends of mine that, they should watch this.
It's okay. I actually recorded this one through Zoom this time. I have to see how it actually turns out because last time the quality of the Zoom was so bad that I could not say, "Hey guys, come watch this." So I
Oh
got
no,
to see.
this one's very good.
Oh, awesome! That
Yeah.
is so good.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
if
like I said, I mean, I would want to watch this again because I missed the first half hour. So,
okay. Well, if like I said, let me just sit and look through the video and just make sure and I
yeah,
can send it over to you so you have that first part. And then yeah,
okay.
if anyone has any extra questions or anything, feel free to message me. I do personal Zooms as well, where I could do anything up to, or anything as little as like an hour. If you just have a bunch of questions that you want to run through somebody that has a decent idea.
That's great. I appreciate it.
Well, no problem. And yeah, I think my next one I'm gonna use the Welsh bitch. I was gonna use her, but yeah, I've been trying to
Well,
maintain
I
her
remember it's
coat
funny.
better.
I asked you if you were going to use a Westie,
I know. And
and
I
I
was like,
appreciate it. Believe me.
yeah, I was like, I don't know. And then yeah, I pulled like right before this, I pulled out like all three of my dogs, and I was looking, and I was like, all right, she's got the most coat that can be broken down into something that's gonna look really good out
But you know
there.
what I think is hard, and maybe I guess because I'm new to all, obviously, trying is with a totally white dog. And I can see where I've watched a couple online with like wire fox terriers, and how muted they look when they've been clippered, and then it's just incredible when they're hand stripped how vibrant the color is.
Yeah,
And you can see, you sort of see what you're doing.
yeah, no,
With the white, it's
100%.
like,
With my one male, I will say it's way more apparent when I strip him. Like she is actually like very white. She has staining, whatever, but she's a very white dog.
uh,
And she
well,
her
she looks very white even on the Zoom. So,
spicy, knock it off. Yeah, and it's funny because she is, and it does reflect a little bit in her coat. I've done worked really hard to get her coat good texture, but when she was young, it was on the softer side. Now my male, it's a total difference when I strip him because his coat is so coarse. It has like when coats are so coarse, they have where the hair shafts are easily open so that they hold dirt more.
uh-huh.
And so he has that. So it is such a pain in the butt to keep him white. So then when I do strip him, like he looks bright white. All of the coat underneath that top guard hair is
Uh,
always super white at first. And then after a few days of just kicking around and being a dog, he'll pick up a little bit of color. And it's literally just the, life dirt, and
yeah.
it gets into the hair shafts and then it winds up sealing. And that happens with dogs with harsh coats, and that's why depending on how harsh the dog's coat is, you can condition it. You only don't want to condition a coat that's too soft, because hard
Right.
coats are brittle and they break and they don't like to grow. So conditioning it really helps it in the long run.
Well, it's a shame too. And I mean, Connecticut here, we do have a Westie club, and I've been in there for 20 years. It's so sad at how few people were ever even interested. And we had a couple, like you might have known Lee
Yeah,
Trudeau.
yeah, I did.
And Lee, did grooming, trying to teach people grooming, and and she actually helped, me a little bit with stripping, before she passed away, and kind of thing. And it's just a shame no one was interested. I mean, it just,
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, it's so much better for them.
it is. It is a lot better for that. I mean, I was told by so many pet groomers that pet people would not be interested in having their dogs groomed because it was too expensive. And the thing is, a large majority of dogs I travel for, besides show dogs, because like I hit show dogs in between, sure, but a large majority of the dogs I'm traveling for at this point are pets, and they're owned by people who could not find competent hand strippers in their area. They love the
Oh,
look.
well, why do you think that Lisa and I've been like chasing you around? There is nobody here in Connecticut. Nobody.
Oh my gosh.
There is
Yeah, and
nobody.
I do. I gotta get up there. I totally like. I'm horrible with like holidays and stuff. I'm a workaholic, so then like, yeah, I'll like
I
think
mean,
of
or even,
scheduling stuff.
somehow, because, Lisa, she's actually, if you were ever like took the train up from New York, right, right up the coast, she's got her grooming shop. She has a grooming shop at one of it's like
Yeah,
about an hour in. And probably if she advertised it, she could probably get a number, maybe not just Westies, but other people that would like to have their dog hand stripped.
yeah. No, that's true.
Well, we
That'd
have
be
nobody.
cool.
There is no, when I tell you, Ashley, there is nobody.
Oh, and I
No,
hate to hear that. That's the worst.
yeah.
That's why I try to keep, educating and, spreading the word because I think hand stripping, like for me, yes, it's easy. I've been doing it since I was 12, but I do believe it is something that you can learn relatively easy. It is a lot of repetition. It's a lot of doing the same thing over and over and over till you're really good at it. And then you
And
can move
there
on.
are people, unfortunately, and I think you've probably seen it on some of the Facebook pages, that they sort of, which blows my mind when they'll say, well, I have such and such a breed coming in, and I've never hand stripped before. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, why would you post that? I mean, why would
I
you
know.
post if they're going to strip
I
their
know.
dog and you don't know what you're doing?
I know. Well, and then that to me is just kind of scary because hand stripping can be dangerous. A lot of the knives
Oh,
we
yeah.
use, one, people don't dull them properly because they don't know to. And those knives are so sharp. I've
Yeah.
seen tragedies on dog skin because people were just learning and they didn't have a good enough mentor to tell them, hey, you need to stop and check your hand pressure.
Or
So,
you know what they do? These, what do they call them? Clip and strip or whatever the heck
yeah.
they,
Yep.
and they don't tell you that they're, and I had someone tell me that, oh, I have my dog stripped, and I could tell, and I'm not an expert, that's for sure. I took
yeah.
one look at it and I said,
No.
this dog is not stripped by any means. I said, this dog was clippered. They're like, oh, no, no, no. She said, and I said, no, she didn't strip this dog.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that is pretty much the most common thing that I do see even when I get dogs. Like I've gotten a handful of new clients and a lot of them were just strip clips. And so I've been working a majority of the areas to get the hair back in. There's a few that I'm just like whatever and I don't like clip, but I'll just thinning shear it and then pull it because it gives it a better look, but there's only so much you can do sometimes. And if the parents really don't care,
Well, that's it. Of
it's
course,
why fight it.
the biggest thing going on up here, oh my God, it's awful up here, is everyone's getting doodles. That's
Oh,
what's,
I know. I'm telling you,
I mean, oh,
I got a bunch of doodle clients down here in Delaware. Delaware is the only place I do regular pet grooming. And man, I swear it kills me with those dang doodles, man.
there's actually a gentleman, his family, right in town where I live here. I figured he's got to be making close to $1 million a year. I calculated he posts litters on Facebook with his kids playing with all these puppies. He's doing golden doodles, bernedoodles. He just, I think, had a litter of cockapoos,
Oh,
which I haven't
geez.
seen cockapoos in a long time.
Yeah, seriously, that's like an old school mix.
I mean, like I said, I mean, I mean, I was a kid, which is, I mean, back in the 60s and stuff, that
Yeah,
cockapoo was the one mix that was just not a purebred dog. Was, but
yeah,
most people had mutts, but cockapoo, and he did a litter of cockapoos. But he does this mammoth. I was at Lisa's grooming shop a couple weeks ago.
yeah.
I walked in, I go, what is that? I mean, you could have put a saddle on this thing.
Oh shit,
It
yeah.
was a
I
it was
have
a
a
it was
few.
a golden doodle, and I said that should be illegal. I said there
Yeah,
shouldn't be a dog that big.
I'm telling you, I have a few that are really big. I don't really take them anymore, but I got a bunch when they were puppies, like really small. And so like they are relatively good dogs now. I don't really have to do anything. They're all like dog show trained dogs, even though they're not. Um, and so there's two of them that are big. They are big
Oh, yeah.
doodles. And when they came, they were like this big. So
But
I'm
you know what
like,
the sad thing is? I go in there and it's like for some reason owners don't think they have to brush these dogs in between groomings.
oh,
And
I know.
they come in, and Lisa's pretty much what she's doing is she's just scalping them. I mean,
Yeah.
she's pelting them in big hunks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. I understand. I mean, it sucks, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like crazy.
Yeah.
And she tries to educate, and some people just don't want to be educated.
No, they don't. And that to me is, I think this, the worst part. Those ones for us get charged more because it's like you're making our jobs
Oh,
harder
she's
by
she's
not
charging
listening.
she's charging up around $200 to do one.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really good. We
she
do
doesn't,
like 150 right now.
and she doesn't apologize. It's a
Well,
lot
no,
of
she
work. I mean,
shouldn't.
she said, like she said, I'm getting old. She said, to do this is not easy.
No, it's not. It's really not. It's not easy on your body. And if the
No,
dogs aren't good, it sucks. Like, I've gotten lucky. A lot of my doodles don't really bother me that much. They're good dogs. But when they first came and they were little, crazy beans, yeah, it was like such a hard thing because a lot of them had so much power and they didn't realize how much power they had because they're just big dogs.
yeah, I mean, and even I have friends of mine that are like looking to get, and I do breeder referral, up here. People will call me,
Yeah.
that breeders and stuff, and and sometimes I'm like, you might want to think twice. I mean, I had a friend of mine. She's 75 years old.
Mhm.
I don't know why she honestly a puppy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I said,
Yeah, no, sure though.
maybe get to a certain point, maybe a puppy is not, I mean, you get to the point where I'm too old to be dealing with a puppy.
No, that's true. I agree.
And I
And
said,
my
and also, a lot of them had big dogs. And I said, well, what's nice about small dogs is like, before when COVID started, I was actually had to be down in Florida to take care of my mother. And I could just take my Westie and, he'd gotten used to the travel bag. I could take him anywhere.
yeah, man, it's so different. People
Oh,
don't like
I never
desensitize
could
their
have had a
dogs.
big dog. She looks gorgeous, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I think she's looking better. I literally showed her at Montgomery, and I had this guy. I don't even know. He is one of our Westie people's new love child, where they just, and it's like whatever, everybody gets one. But this
Huh?
guy was like, apparently to him, this dog wasn't groomed like a Westie for Montgomery and looked like shit. And
What?
yeah, and he had like the nerve, the nerve, and which she could have looked better, granted, but she still looked good enough to be in Montgomery, right? And he was like, this guy tried to rip me up about it. I was like, this dog just spent 4 months with a student who was learning how to groom. Of
Right.
course, she's not perfect, but she looks like a Westie. Like, what type of harebrained shit? People
Oh
are
yeah.
crazy. Like,
But
you know what I mean?
it's a real fallacy too. When you see sometimes on some of these different pages about going to your breeder should be more than willing to teach you these
Oh,
things.
I
I mean,
know.
they good luck with that.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, people forget breeders know a lot. They do, but
Oh
they don't
yeah,
know everything when
absolutely.
it comes down to it. And it's hard to expect them to teach you absolutely everything they know when a lot of them are still learning stuff,
Yes.
like everybody else. We're all still learning stuff,
Yeah, but you know what's sad too? It's like with the breeder that I had, my Westie is from, and I know you, I know, I'm sure you know her. Is the fact that they actually, two of them, they stopped showing their own dogs because it was always handlers' dogs that were winning. It was like they couldn't get points on them. And which again, I don't know anything about showing or whatever. I have no idea. So they ended up actually going, with handlers.
Ashley,
Hello?
no?
No, I don't know where Ashley went.
Oh,
I think we lost her.
possibly.
Huh. The volume went off.
She may have gotten a. Oh, she's waving in front of the camera.
Yeah. Oh, Ash, I don't even know how to let's see. Oh yeah, wait a minute, let's see. I'm gonna write something. I don't know if I can chat here. Let's see, where can I chat?
Can you hear me? I think
Yes.
I think my little speaker thing died.
Oh, I was just texting you. We
This
lost
little bebop little guy here.
Ah,
But sorry about that, guys.
that's very cute.
But yeah, just let me know. I can't hear you guys as well anymore for whatever reason. At least the majority of it went very well. So I'll take a little bit of fuddle at the end. But I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
No problem. And yeah, I'm trying to do a little bit more Zoom seminars throughout the month. So just keep an eye on the page, and I hope you guys have a good month.
Yeah, you too.
All righty, guys.
See you later.
Get some rest.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All righty. Mommy, what a good girl. Such a good girl, baby. Yes, kitty kisses. I kiss him. All right, let's get this closed out. How do I do that?